All right, you still here with your homeboy first on the realest, most entertaining sports show in the game, and that is Put It On Some. Happy to have my esteemed OG C. Liegh McInnis still here with me. OG, we just spoke on the previous segment. Hope y'all check that out about Coach Prime's halftime comments. Okay, Coach Prime's post game comments got people riled up as well. America, if you don't know what I'm talking about, and the post game presser, everything was going standard, typical coach speak and player speak. Okay. But then somebody asked Coach about our attendance, being that it was Jackson State's first home game. And so Coach Prime responded by saying, if I'm not mistaken, that Jackson's was phenomenal, but that Grambling's was pathetic. On further, he commented on fans and the band leaving early. He even threw FAMU in there, talking about them leaving early when we were up in that game as well. This also has social media in an uproar right now. And then I don't think Coach made that any better today by chiming in on, I guess maybe Hugh Jackson is catching some smoke. I don't know, from some of the fan base. And Coach Prime said, basically, if y'all have unsolicited opinions, then hopefully y'all provide Coach Jackson with the resources that he needs to be successful. So, OG, all right, lot to break down here. What were your thoughts first on the attendance and leaving early comments?
So I'm glad that in the previous segment you said that you are not a Coach Sanders apologist,
No,
right?
sir.
And that's a perfect segue because in this part, I agree with one thing that he said, and I disagree with the other thing that he said, right? So let's deal with both of them, right?
Okay.
Concerning Coach Sanders' comments about the few Grambling fans who attended the game and about the Grambling fans leaving early, let me say this. Before I address his comments on Grambling fans, it must be noted that Coach Sanders has criticized JSU fans several times for attending classics at a greater rate than traveling to non-classic games. So he's trying to get all fans of HBCUs to do better in supporting their schools. Now, his point about the few Grambling fans attending the game, he's absolutely correct. Sadly, only Southern, Alcorn, FAMU, and Jackson State, those are the four, right, that are known for having a big home crowd and traveling well. Though I love and respect all HBCUs, the vast majority of them don't travel well because of economic circumstances. But if you're going to be as loud as Grambling has been about not losing in the vet since 1999, then you must come to the game. If the vet is your second home because you haven't lost there since 1999, then why weren't you there Saturday? As such, I agree with Coach Sanders that Grambling's attendance at Saturday's game to support their team was pitiful because Grambling is a blue blood of all HBCUs. Grambling is not a blue blood of the SWAC. It is the greatest internationally known brand of all HBCU football. So for them not to be there, when they know that that's what they are, and they remind everybody what they are, yeah, it was a bad look for them to have been loud on social media and everywhere else, and then not to be there. However, I disagree with Coach Sanders' point about Grambling fans and the band leaving early. Brother, first, that Mississippi Heat ain't nothing to play with. My season tickets are on the visitor side. I've been sitting on the visitor side since 1975 because that's where my pop sat, because it was easy to get tickets on the 50-yard line there. Anybody who's ever visited the vet knows that the sun shines on the visitor side much longer than it does on the home side because the sun sets behind the home side. In fact, that's one of the reasons I like being on the visitor side, because in the winter, we get to be warmed by the sun longer than the home side. In November and December, I'm happy for that sun. But in August and September, oh, player, that ain't nothing to play with. So I dress accordingly. I wear a baseball cap, even though I hate wearing caps. And I have a lot of sunscreen because, even with all this melanin, look at my forehead is still hot from Saturday, and it's been 2 days now. So therefore, because the heat was so unbearable, I understand why the Grambling band left and the fans left. As a teenager, I chopped cotton in the Mississippi Delta, and I was never as hot chopping cotton as I was in the vet yesterday. In fact, at the beginning of the third quarter, the vendors of the concession stands began giving away big bags of free ice. And let me tell you why I continue to love HBCUs, despite all of these social media trolls. Whether it was somebody from Grambling or Jackson State, everybody shared their big bags of ice with each other. Grambling fans shared their bags of ice with JSU fans. JSU fans shared their bags of ice with Grambling fans. And if anybody think I'm lying, ask any Grambling fan at the game who was sitting in section 121 on the visitor side, which is directly on the 50-yard line. Ask them if I'm lying, and they'll tell you we were all sharing ice with each other. So that heat was more than enough reason for people to leave, especially if your team was losing. And let me finally add this. Unlike most HBCU folks, I like day games. But I like games to start at 3 p.m. and not 1 p.m. Most people forget that the hottest part of the day is at 3 p.m. But that's also time when the heat begins to decrease. Thus, by starting the game at 3 p.m., it limits the time of our time in the apex of the heat. Yet starting at 1 p.m. means that we're in the apex of that heat for 3 to 4 hours, and that's just dangerous. Furthermore, I'm usually in my seat 2 hours before the game because I hate traffic. So if the game is at 3, I'm in my seat at 1. With the game being at 1, I was in my seat at 11. So that means I was sitting in that heat from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's dangerous. I told you, my forehead is still stinging because I refuse to wear a cap. You better believe I'm going to have sunscreen, cap, shades, and everything when we play Valley next week. So although I like day games, I would prefer them to start at 3, maybe 5 is the latest. But I'll admit, I hate night games because those November and December nights, they just too cold for me as a Mississippi boy. Look here, I was only telling people, if you ain't got no season tickets, if you ain't doing this and that, you ain't no Jackson State fan. Let me be clear, brother. First, I'm gonna roll with Jackson State until it's below 45 degrees. Then y'all on your own. I am never, ever, ever. I want to be clear. I am never, ever, ever attending a game below 45 degrees. I will be watching it on whatever platform they got. Shish boom bye. Rah, rah, rah. In the comfort of my heat. Look, I run my heat. We run our heat in our house from October to March. Okay. We don't turn the heat off until it's over 75. So I don't like night games because I don't like cold weather at night. So that's why I like day games. But let me be clear. I know I'm in the minority. And also the tailgate, right? People like the later games because it allows people to tailgate. Brother, first, I'm not a tailgater. Right. I'm not going to give you 8 to 12 hours. I'm going to give you 2 hours before the game. And then after the game, I'm going immediately home because with my work as a writer, the weekends are my time to write. Yeah. So I come to the game 2 hours before with that traffic. I would tell them I got some special parking tricks that I do, but I ain't getting up my secrets of how I get good parking. So I'm gonna be like that I'm gonna have to be like that BET commercial. No, my brother, you got to get your own.
Right, so, right.
But well, let me just say that. But people are like, you ain't there for 2 hours. How you get good parking? Don't worry about that, though. Some days, I'm sorry, brother, first. I know I'm being selfish, but trust me, if I told people how I can get to the game 2 hours before and still get good parking, I wouldn't get no more good parking. Because it's like, if you got a good fishing hole, you never tell nobody.
Right.
If you tell people about your good fishing hole, no more fish. All right, that's it.
Well, you made several great points that I want to speak on and pull your coat on. First thing you said about Coach Prime also getting on Jackson State fans about attendance. And that is so right. And folks miss because it wasn't in the post-game press conference, but in the immediate post-game interview. He got on us. Like he said something about Grambling. Okay, he did do that too. Okay, so he said that twice. But then he also talked about us not showing up. He was like, we're putting a great product on the field, and you got to fill this thing up. You got to fill this thing up. So you're absolutely right that he also gets at us like that. Now, a lot of people are speculating on why he's saying that and all that kind of stuff. I just chalk it up to one, the man seems to be uber competitive. Okay. He nicknamed himself Prime. Okay. Well, he said somebody else did that when he was hooping in high
Right,
school.
when he played basketball, yeah.
But he took that nickname and made it into a bit larger than life persona and everything like that. And he had to live up to that. You know what I'm saying? So he seems like a very, very competitive cat, first of all. So he wants to be number one. He wants to pack that thing. Also, I was thinking, hey, this man played at Florida State. So he used to Florida State versus Florida State versus Miami, and that thing being jam-packed, Now, they got way larger enrollment numbers than we have. Everybody want to talk about HBCU, but we're small schools,
right?
By the way, as well. You know what I'm talking about? I think I saw that our enrollment is somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000, and I want to say Florida State's is like 33,000, somewhere up in there. So there's a big difference. But I did see one brother. And again, I ain't got a problem calling him a brother. Okay. Again, I'm not one of these kids that finna troll your institution, nothing like that. Okay.
Right.
But I just think this brother was a little off base with his speculation.
Right.
He speculated, OG. And this is one of the Grambling accounts on Twitter.
Right.
This brother speculated that Coach Prime is chiming in on attendance because of his contract.
Right.
That much of his contract is paid based on attendance, and then over 30,000 attendees. When over 30,000 attendees are in there, he gets like 10% off the tickets, and he gets 10% of season tickets, and he gets 100 racks if we move into another conference. I don't know about that. The dude's already rich. This dude, like he got Affleck. He got.
There you go.
I was wondering why he didn't already have an endorsement with Amazon Prime the other day, and then turned on their Thursday night football game the other day. Boom, there he is.
There you go.
On there. So those contracts are right there bigger than what we giving them at Jack State. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he just pledge?
He donated his salary to finish in the facilities.
So
But see, here's the thing. Again, this is when you are being emotional rather than being rational, logical. Name me one professional contract that doesn't have incentives. Name one professional contract that doesn't have incentives. Whether you're working as a CEO for a Fortune 500, right? Teachers now have incentives, right? They get paid. They get a base pay, and then they get paid on particular standardized test rates, graduation rates, all types of things. You get paid for publishing, all contracts. And what bothers me is they'll talk about a receiver complaining they're not throwing him the ball. Yet a team will tell this receiver, if you get 1,000 yards, we'll give you an extra $1 million. But then at the end of the season, because they don't want to pay, tell the quarterback, don't throw his way. So in a sense, you are giving somebody an incentive and then being mad for them trying to achieve that incentive. Now, if that's the case, why did Jackson State give Coach Sanders that incentive? Because they knew that if he accomplished everything in that contract, it would make Jackson State more money. So we want him to want to get his incentives, because everything in that incentive will drive the money for Jackson State. The only thing that I don't like about the incentive package is about going to the other conferences. That's just not me. I'm not interested. I like the swag. But staying on point here, you give employees incentives, because if those employees meet those incentives, the companies make even more money. So even if that's the case, but if that's the case, it still doesn't refute or erase the notion that you can't be loud on social media for 7 days talking about how the vet is your second home, about you are, and they are. Let's be clear, Grambling is the international brand.
Yeah.
right? They are international black football.
Get it
But
right.
you can't be that and not show up. That's all I can tell them.
Yeah. Another thing that you spoke on very astutely was the game start times. And I see a lot of people chiming in with the game start time. And I feel y'all. I totally feel y'all because I did not want to get up. I almost missed the game because of that traffic. If my wife didn't come up in here and get me up out of this bed, then I probably would have missed it and got stuck in traffic because I worked through the night. So getting up to try to beat traffic and do all that kind of stuff, like I finally made it to my seat right when my young boy Aubrey Miller created that fumble. That's when I finally got up in there. If it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have made that. So I'm with y'all. I'm with y'all. But here's the thing. If we want later games to avoid the heat, therefore meaning if we want autonomy, if we want to have total control of what we're doing, then we can't also be down with ESPN.
There you go.
You mean if you don't want nobody telling you what to do, you can't go to the white folk being ESPN, who owned by Disney. Okay, you can't go to them and say, "Hey man, why y'all won't never show us?" You gotta just be cool with us not partnering with them then, and then we can do whatever we want to do. But when we had the spring game on there, or when we started out on ESPN too, I know a lot of folks were fighting and fussing that we wanted to be on the big ESPN, but ESPN too, a lot of folks were happy about that. Well, we can't have both, because if you're gonna do business with them folks gonna try to dictate some things. Okay, but if we, again, as I keep saying, we need a black owned, not black targeted station that allows us to have not just Jack State, all HBCUs on there, like when BET was black owned by Bob Johnson. When I was a child, I could just easily turn on the TV and see all of that culture on my TV screen. That was amazing. And shout out to those that are trying to do it in this digital era. What's that? HBCU Go
and HBCU League Pass. And also BSCN, BSCN is showing volleyball games for HBCUs. I think they're going to have some other packages too, but they're definitely showing volleyball games.
Shout out to them. But OG, I see folks disparaging them online. I see people saying, "Oh, this feed is terrible. This stream is terrible." I see folks just going in on it like, bro, what do we want? We don't want white people tell us what to do. But then when some black folks try to get in the game at the grassroots level and try to build theirs up, you talk about them like a dog.
Right. And I going back to what you said about it. I'm a black nationalist. I'm an unabashed, unapologetic black nationalist. So I was one of the few people that I knew who wasn't really that excited. I understood the gravity of our spring game being on ESPN, but I said before, white people patting me on the back doesn't really do anything for me. So we gonna have to decide what we want. Do we want autonomy? Do we want to be sovereign? Right? Do we want to control our own situation, or do we want to get the money and the pats on the back from white folks? If that's the case, as you said, they tend to dictate a lot of those times. I think, and this is just the only thing I hate to speculate. The only other thing on which I speculate is that Coach Sanders spent a great deal of his time playing day games in college and in the pros. Sunday games are at noon and at 1. Like, only time you was a pro player was going to be on at night was going to be Monday Night Football. We forget that Sunday Night Football is relatively new as it relates to the history of the National Football League. Now, I don't know the exact years because I haven't watched NFL since Steve McNair retired. I tell people, look, I don't watch the black quarterback. I watch the black college quarterback. And once there was a guy, I think from either Alabama State or Alabama named Tavares Jackson. I think Tavares Jackson. I think he was the last kind of a black college quarterback who got. So I'm hoping Aqeel Glass. I'm hoping he gets a shot somewhere. Of course, the trigger man Felix Hopper. I hope he get a shot somewhere. I check out Robert Kent. He was in the Arena League. Terrio is back over in the European League. So I don't really watch it. I haven't really watched the NFL since Steve McNair retired. But Coach Sanders, he's never played a lot of night games. He said, I like day games. And I heard somebody else say that one of the reasons he likes day games because it gives the players an opportunity to be with their family after the game. Now, that you balance that with the heat. Like I said, that Mississippi Heat ain't nothing to play with. I know people like to talk about that Florida Heat, that Texas Heat. I'm going to say it again. I'm probably one of the few people who watch you who's ever asked these hands here.
Okay.
These hands here have published poetry, have published short stories, and have chopped cotton. These are cotton chopping hands right here. I know they all lotioned up. You understand? But these hands have had the calluses, and I can tell you that heat from a teenager chopping cotton was nothing with that heat that was in the vet. So I understand why some folks had to leave. But then again, the bottom line is, and I'll give you something else quickly. I always hate televised games when I'm there because of those long timeout breaks.
Yeah.
I hate commercial breaks when you at a game, but you know that you like people like, what's going on? What's going on? Like commercial break. And in fact, my father's cousin, who I take to the game since my father passed, he said, young blood, I remember we used to complain they should show us on TV more. And now that I have to sit through these commercial breaks, I'm complaining again. They should stop showing us on TV so much. So again, what do we want? Do we want autonomy? Here's something that black people need to learn. Somebody else's money always comes with their strings. When you were a child and your parents used to give you money, that money came with some strings. So if you don't want the white man's strings, stop running after the white man money. And that's all I got to say on that.
And that goes back also to what you said about how big tailgating is for us. It's big in white culture as well. But I know, like you said before when we were talking off camera, you said it's kind of like a family reunion vibe for us.
Yeah.
But Disney does not care about that.
No, not at all.
They don't care nothing about that. So, and for the record, Sunday Night Football started airing in 2006. So
there we go.
Yeah. So, and I think he's out of league by then, if I'm not tripping.
Yeah. Okay.
The last thing, and I'm glad you said this, because with me being so active on social media, I wouldn't have thought this happened. And the story you told about the sharing of the ice. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand. With all this stuff that's being flung on social media, maybe it's like Dave Chappelle said, that Twitter isn't a real place.
Right.
Because
it's not.
When it comes down to the humanity of it, I think most of us in there who like me, saw fans leaving, saw the band leaving, I'm on the other side. I don't know what's going on with the water over there. I don't know what's going on. I'm over there. Somebody gave me some water. My brother gave me some water. My brother gave me something else too, America. Okay. My brother gave me something else too, and I appreciate him for that. But I didn't know what's going on in terms of concession. I ain't leave my seat.
Right.
So at first, I thought a lot of folks were just leaving because they were getting whooped too. But the humanity shows up once we realize, I'm seeing and I'm hearing people been falling out and all that kind of stuff. I think we did see one band member after the performance out there. I think it was a young lady, was real hot. But of course, they and all that stuff. So that's making sense. But I don't even know that the fans are dealing with that over there. So when the humanity shows up, you got people sharing ice, and I know real ones empathetic to folks that left. My sister left. She's a professor at Jackson State. Her husband graduated at Jackson State, and they left because they deal with health issues with the heat and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's all one.
It was a lady sat behind me from Grambling because again, my tickets on the business side. Look at it first. That lady talked about me and Jackson State. She talked about everything but my mama. I mean, she talked about that lady from Jackson, that lady from Grambling, she was giving me the business, especially when it was 14.
Oh yeah, I bet you.
She was giving me what you got to say, Mississippi? Come on, Mississippi. What Prime gonna do? Right? Talking much noise. All right. Look here.
Oh my
But
God.
midway that third quarter,
Right.
right? Not talking as much, but that's when the free. So my father's cousin, right? He's 77 years old. This same lady who was talking all that noise, when he had to get up to go to the restroom, she saw he had a cane, and she got up out of her seat to make sure he didn't fall. See, that's why even though I get mad at a lot of these HBCU trolls and all these folk, yes, there's some people who go too far, because I'm on the visitor side and they say some real foul things, and I have to learn to let it go, But again, when that sister who from Grambling had talked all that noise, saw really my second cousin, because my father, because that 77-year-old man with that cane, she said, "Baby, y'all gonna need some help," like it was second nature. And I said, and I got him up the stairs and got him to the restroom. When we got back, she found out it was good. She went back to talking noise. But let me tell you, and I know this ain't on the topic, but I'm gonna tell you how I shut up.
Okay.
Because she went in like, and besides, this ain't your side anyway. You should be on the home side. I said, no. Let me help you out for a minute. See, when I'm at home, I sit anywhere I want to sit. Oh. Sometimes I sit in the living room. Sometimes I sit in the dining room. Sometimes I sit in the kitchen. Matter of fact, I got TVs in 2-3 rooms so I can watch the game. So since this is my house, I'm going to sit in the guest room because this is where the new TV at. And I'm going to watch the TV from the guest room with the new TV because this is my stadium. D.I. Love. And it was done. They had nothing else to say.
Well, America. Oh my God. America, y'all chime in. Tell us what y'all thought about Coach Prime's comments about Grambling, the attendance, and all that kind of stuff. I put it on something.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?